What the permanent fix will look like is, I describe your yard. We will take, we got some names here, Cox, Kushanavas? There you go. How about, thank you. I wouldn't remember if you hadn't told me earlier. So, Anders, and I know at least those three have got property. This erosion has gone into your property lines. And what we will do is our fix will look like we will put the flat grass portions back just past your property lines. And we will talk to you about what kind of fence has to go in. We will also replace the fences. And then from that point, we will have a slope that's going to go down to the creek. It's not going to be rock. It's not going to be a big, massive rock. What it'll be soil. And it will be, what will be planted in this is, it's called biostabilization. It's a method where you plant the right kinds of vegetation, the right kinds of bushes, the right kinds of trees, things that can both withstand the energy of the water hitting the slope, and also the root structures act like reinforcing bar in concrete. And then to make sure that the slope will stay globally, that you won't have a big global failure where the whole thing will wash out. It will look something like that. The detailed design's not done, but it will look something like that. And I think the discussion we had out there, it's not going to be just where you see the erosion. It's going to be somewhat past where the erosion is on either end, because you want to meld it or warp it into the existing slope that's staying. If you have an abrupt change, the water will come in and start eating that away, and we'll be back to the whole thing washing itself out again. So it'll be a little bit beyond where you see the existing erosion. Up Advanced Road, we've talked with the county. We're going to do the design, and we're going to put in the temporary fix, and we told them, hey, if you want to participate on Advanced Road, let us know. This is a time to participate. We're talking with them about what to do with Advanced Road. But we will put the emergency fix in for Advanced Road immediately to make sure we protect the toe. The other thing that's going to go on that helps this as well is up and down this creek, you are going to have rock veins. They're going to be slanted with the flow of the water. And what it does is it takes the energy as the creek's coming down and it directs it towards the middle of the creek. If you guys have ever taken the bridge over Highway 40, going, heading out to
Daniel Boone Bridge?
Daniel Boone Bridge, there you go. Heading out, if you've looked in the Missouri River under low river levels, you'll see those rock things coming out. That's what they're doing. They're preventing erosion. Actually, their idea is to increase the water flow in the middle and keep the navigation channel open. But they do the same thing. They direct the energy and the flow of water towards the middle of the channel and away from the sides.
And you actually may have seen that they recently did that in the Mississippi as well, parts of the Mississippi, so just create some familiarity there possibly.
Now, this is a lot smaller than what those are,
Yes.
but it does the same thing. It takes the energy, puts it in the middle. It puts it in the middle, and hopefully, one of the reasons you're getting erosion is the water's coming down with so much energy. One of the ways it gets rid of that is by picking material up. It's harder to move material in the water, and it loses its energy that way. Well, by directing it, hitting these veins, going to the middle, running into each other, picking up the rock that gets transported naturally down the middle of the creek, you hope to have it naturally dissipate the energy that way instead of doing it by eating away at the side of the slopes.
Do those veins actually start then?
They will, it depends on the design. My guess is they will actually start somewhere just above the Advanced Road erosion area.
So it just slows down just before it hits the curve is the idea?
Yeah, you won't slow it down. It will direct it towards the middle and keep it from eating away at the edges.
Think in terms, not so much water, but energy that hits the bank, and we want to take that energy elsewhere, away from the bank.
Now will that deepen the channel then and make it more of a creek type?
Well, you've got bedrock in the bottom of the channel.
Oh, okay.
So it's probably not going to result.
Okay.
It will slowly, the rocks you got in the bottom is from it slowly chipping away the bedrock and the rest of Fishpot Creek. And that's a natural process.
Right.
It'll keep working. It won't incise the channel any more than it is right now. Why are we doing it this way, and why are we stopping where we're stopping? There's two things we're trying to balance. One, Mother Nature is telling us what this creek should look like, so we got to work within that. So we want to put a fix in, we want to put it so it'll stay, but we don't want to take the problem elsewhere or move it elsewhere or be so intrusive that even though we've done the engineering calculations, Mother Nature is still stronger and washes away what we do. That's why we've come to the balance of putting your yards back to your property line plus a little bit, giving you a fence, giving you a sloped area. That should be, it'll look a little bit like what's over there, and a grown teenager or somebody could, if they decide, work their way down and play in the creek. That would be up to you guys. But It won't be the sheer drop-off that it is right now. So we're going to put it in enough where we've done what's called a geomorphologic study. Geomorphology is what the creek does naturally. And if we put that there, we believe if we shield it strong enough, it can be there, take the energy, do what it's supposed to do, and it won't push the problem elsewhere. And you won't end up with the erosion problem somewhere else. I guess I'm asking for questions. That'll start sometime in the fall. Exactly how it works is going to depend on the planting season we're looking at, how we're going to hold it, and that has to be determined yet when we complete the design. So,
What's your time? Do you have a timeline on when you'd like to be finished?
it depends on the planting season of the biostabilization that's selected that's appropriate for the soils. Sometimes it's early fall, sometimes it's late fall, sometimes it might be spring where we'll put something in so it'll last so we can plant the first part of the spring. Sometimes, a lot of them, I don't have experience with this type of soil, so I don't know. But if we had normal clays, you would plant at the late fall because you actually use dormant stock buried in the channel, and when the spring comes up, it springs roots, and that's how you end up holding it. I'm, like Lance said, I'm going to have to let the engineers on my staff tell me exactly what that looks like.
Okay.
But there will be some activity that will start this fall.
With the property lines being restored, is I guess the dirt gonna be backfilled, the stuff that's already been washed out? Obviously, that would be.
Yeah, what we'll do is the structural repair, a
Right.
couple of feet down, might actually be on your property. What I've asked them to do is key out or do something so you get clay with topsoil, with something to grow on grass. You won't know it's under there. What you'll see is your yard back up to the fence line on your property line, plus a little bit. That's what you'll see. And it's different from everybody. It's going to depend on what it looks like at the time you get there as well.
Sure.
But they'll be able to maintain a line as to where that slope will start, and they'll put all the property lines back where they were.
No,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, the time frame on that, it would have, in my mind, would have to be after the project is complete, so that way any kind of rain or anything that comes along doesn't wash away any kind of repairs that are made. Is that?
That's part of the consideration about when you do the construction and how you do it. There's always the possibility that depending on what the fix is here, if it's a spring planting season that's appropriate for the fix, we would put the slope back, temporarily reinforce it, possibly, and then come back in the spring and complete that so that it'll hold. It's also possible we come in here, they crank it out, and November 13th they plant everything. That's a possibility too. We're not that far along. We're moving so fast. Quite honestly, they're concentrating on the temporary fix. We're trying to get, we're going to be procuring the actual temporary fix at the same time the permits are clearing. So hopefully they land at the same time and we kind of start the next day.
For the temporary fix with the rock, how long of a process do you anticipate that will take?
A week. It's not going to be much at all. It's our guys were telling us plus or minus $50,000, $100,000 at the most. So it's kind of that quick fix that you go in. It's mostly getting in. The big one's getting the permit for the Corps and MDNR to understand what we're doing enough to allow us to actually disturb the creek and move the soils around. That is normally a big no-no. But they've got some sense of what we're going to do at the end, that we're going to restore
Natural.
we're going to restore the natural
biologics.
biologics to the creek and make it operate the way it was before, and not damage anything.
So we're on the same page with them on that, and like Brian said, they've agreed to accelerate that process. That's actually probably the biggest deal of all, this is just the paperwork on that, and once we get that squared away, it gives us a lot of latitude to get moving.
The funding, before Lance talks about the particulars or the part of the funding, on the funding, the way it happens, we got a stormwater rate, that's great. For this stormwater rate, extending this kind of service out by schedule, funds supposed to start coming in about 3 years from now to do this kind of thing. What the board's done, we've got another fund that's stormwater oriented that is aimed towards a specific area, but it's got enough funding in it that what we will do is we will let that fund, now that we know we've got a rate, loan money to this fund, and knowing that we eventually get revenues, we can justify doing it because we know there's always a revenue stream to eventually pay that loan back. It's a mechanical thing, but I think it just keys into what
Yeah.
Lance said. It required the approval of the stormwater rate to make that even happen.
Yeah, and